This is outdated. And welcome back to Theater of My Mind. This is our third episode of season one, where we are exploring Alone Against the Flames from the Call of Cthulhu. From the Call of Cthulhu starter set. So we started by making our character, or my character, whatever, Alistair Wayne, who is a recently hired professor at Miskatonic University. He's young, he's 30 years old. I mean, for a college professor, it's pretty young. And all I can say is our dice rolling has just sucked. Like I have had the worst dice rolling. So let's hop back into where we were. We left off on 22, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, we are at 22. So, quick recap. We were moving to Arkham to start a new life. This guy picks us up and he drives us, and the vehicle breaks down in a little town called Emberhead. We know he was lying, but we didn't want to cause trouble. We spend the night. We were supposed to leave town the next morning, whenever he would have the car fixed, but he had already left without me. And it looks like he left without me intentionally. He said for me to be there at 8. I got there early. He was already gone at sunrise. I was stranded there intentionally. So what's going on, right? Now, at first, I'm trying to find a way out. It doesn't seem that bad. It just seems like he's just a flaky jerk. But then, right at the end of last episode, the little girl, who I don't think is so little, that lives with May Ledbetter, it whispers to me secretly, get out of town before the festival. Run. So that's where we left off. So let's pick up there with episode 3 of season 1 of Theater of My Mind. Okay, and I'm sharing my screen here so you can see where I am on 22. Here's the dice rollers that have been the bane of my existence, because the worst roll I could make, every time I rolled to succeed, I failed. Every time the opponent rolled to succeed, they succeeded. It's been a terrible dice rolling so far. Let's see how this goes, eh? You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. If you learned one thing this morning, it was that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But there are still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hope of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters. So if you prepare and walk out of town, 28. If you head to the village hall instead, 11. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the village hall on 11. Boop. All right. The village hall overlooks the lower north ridge of the village. You walk along Silbury Street to find it, conscious of the oppressive black metal structure framed at the end of the road. The shutters of the hall are open, and some windows left ajar. There's no knocker, but a little bell over the entrance tinkles as you pass the front door. Inside, a sturdy door to your right is marked private. To your left, an opening leads through to a bright room. You take a few steps inside. Benches line the walls, and there are 2 notice boards mounted between the windows. So I can either examine the notice boards or knock on the closed door. I'm going to examine the notice boards. The floorboards creak beneath you as you cross the room. You feel a slight spring in your step. Perhaps this room is used as a gymnasium for the village children. One notice board appears to be for the adults of the community, and one for the children. The former looks neglected, featuring handwritten advertisements for household items and a yellowed note about telegraph pricing. There is nothing about the festival. The children's notice board has a schedule for weekly crochet services. I have no idea what that is, but okay. And a number of paintings, obviously done by the children themselves. Most are incoherent, though colorful. As best you can tell, they depict fireworks, or perhaps the tale of Joseph from the book of Genesis. One has lost a pin and hangs upside down. It shows a giant bird attacking Emberhead. Or it might simply be that the artist has not yet mastered the subtleties of scale. Make a spot hidden roll. If you succeed, go to 30. If you fail, go to 37. I'm tempted to just say I fail because we all know I will, but let's look. Spot hidden is 25. So here we are on the right. We're going to give this a try. Yay. And we're going to fail. We failed with 77. All right. So going to number 37. And the bad luck for this guy continues. The door scrapes behind you. A middle-aged, bespectacled gentleman appears in the doorway. May I help you? You explain, oh, that's not middle-aged. That's like practically dead. All right, let's try that again. May I help you? You explain you are visiting on May Ledbetter's recommendation. Oh, well, I'm Clyde Winters. I'm not sure I can help you, but would you care for some coffee? I'm partial to a cup in this afternoon. Okay, read that wrong. I'm partial to a cup in the afternoon. He gestures to the open door behind him. This seems like a worthwhile opportunity, and you are a little thirsty. We're going to go to 43. Boom. You step through the door marked private. The other side of the village hall is in marked contrast to the public space. The room is compact, lined with shelves of books and file alcoves. One corner is reserved for a tiny pantry and what is presumably a water closet, read bathroom. You study Mr. Winters as he fills the percolator. Although thin on top, his hair is oiled and neatly swept back. His suit is a sober affair and well tailored, even if the cut is a little old-fashioned. A lesser man, working alone, might have loosened his bow tie for comfort. On the desk against the opposite wall, you notice what looks like a telegraph set. To ask about the telegraph immediately, go to 56. To make small talk with Mr. Winters first, go to 49. I want that telegraph. But if there is something going on here, jumping on it like that is a sure way to like indicate that so I'm going to play along and go 49. The pot begins to gurgle as you exchange pleasantries with Winters. Living here, it's a trade-off, like so much in life. He looks past you at a high shelf. I could wish for access to a proper library, of course, but I know myself well enough. I'm strictly a dabbler. And the cities, his face wrinkles in distaste. Too many people, everybody rushing and shouting. We have a special place here in Emberhead, and someone must accept responsibility for keeping it so. That was my father before me, and now the duty falls to me. He lifts his chin and straightens up. This evening, as the sun sets, look out at the landscape around the village. We have peace up here, halfway to the stars. Are we not privileged? Is this not worth the hardship we must accept? He looks at you speculatively. This seems a good time to ask about the telegraph. All right, why is it that I always get nervous when people talk like that? All right, 56. The telegraph. Much as we value our isolation, we do need the link sometimes. You were hoping to send a message? I must apologize. The line has been down for 2 weeks. I reported the fault, but of course they're not so speedy when the problem lies in a rural area. Okay, that is actually true. Not saying that the line's actually down, but that would be true. I am expecting a repair the day after next. Interesting, right after the festival. I do appreciate how frustrating this must be. The coach is due in what, 3 days, also after the festival. But I think he's going west. Perhaps you might engage a wagon. One of the farmers might. You explain that you have asked a few of the residents already, but to no avail. I tell you what, Winters pours you a steaming cup of coffee. The dark liquid smells rich and strong. When the repair crew arrive, I'll ask them to take you with them. How would that be? They might want $1 or 2 to grease the wheels. The day after tomorrow. It's less than ideal, but it's the first real opportunity you've had. And of course, It's after the festival's over. So, okay, I can thank him and leave, or I can ask about his library. I'm gonna ask about his library because I am a college professor after all. 62. You make a small but flattering remark about a couple of the volumes on the shelves. Winters blushes with pleasure. Well, of course, they're not my personal collection. They belong to the village, he says. But I did select most of the recent items. This is the community's library, you see. I put up the private sign to stop people just wandering in for meetings in the other room. But this is really a public space. You scan the shelves. There is a sparse but respectable collection on mathematics and the sciences, passable sections on history and arts, and a shelf of literature. He has a few lowbrow novels tucked away in a corner with tatty copies of Bizarre Tales magazine. Quality does not always equate to popularity, I'm afraid. Winters gives you an apologetic smile. Yes, we call it the ad populum fallacy. Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's good. To take the time for some research in the library, go to 68. To leave while it is still light outside, go to 180. I'm going to research in the library. Maybe I'll find some information. Winters is happy for you to spend the rest of the afternoon in study and offers you an upright but comfortable chair. You have enough time to pursue one line of research in depth. To read about the history of the area, go to 74. To read about the festival, 81. To read something from the sciences, 88. To read some of the weird fiction, 94. Hey, so my character is a professor of archaeology, right? So history would make sense, but the festival seems to be like the main thing that goes on around here. But the sciences isn't a bad choice either. And the weird fiction, the weird fiction is interesting because that's literally where Lovecraft stories were published, as in magazines like this simulated magazine here. And his version of horror is very much attached to science. So that plus the festival is literally plot specific, plus history of the area, which I feel like that would cover festival too, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's go ahead and do 74. Let's go with that. 74. Boop. There's no single book on the history of the area, and you have to put together a picture from a variety of slim, specialized volumes. There seems some suggestion that the hill upon which Emberhead is built was a place of reverence for the Abnaki, or Abenaki, a native tribe, whose name means people of the Dawnlands. The tribe made an annual journey to the hill as the leaves turned the deepest hue of sunset. There are some references to sun rituals performed in the area, but these are not convincingly attributed. The region was caught up in King George's War, and in 1746, British colonial forces counterattacked in response to a raid by the Wabanaki Confederacy, which included the Abenaki. The king's men gave no quarter, and the few survivors among the natives were driven from the area permanently. There seems no confirmed date when Emberhead itself was founded, although there are accounts of settlers on the hill from shortly after the end of the Revolutionary War. I don't know why that feels completely useless, but it does. We're going to go to 99. Whoop. The afternoon wears on. You have not quite finished your reading when Winters glances out the window and stands up. He clears his throat. Make a credit rating roll. Credit rating. My credit rating's a 30, dude. Yep, here we go. All right. Where'd the mouse go? There. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna roll. I need a 30 or below to make it. And let's face it, we know how this is gonna go. They see me rolling. I'm failing. Oh. I actually succeeded with a 13. Oh my God. Not only that, was it? It was a hard success. Not that that matters here, but I actually succeeded. Okay, I'm gonna go to 111. Maybe this is it. Maybe my luck is broke. 111. I'm happy to leave you in charge for a half hour or so, he smiles. Please don't issue any books without a valid library card. You thank Winters for his trust and continue with your reading for a time. As the light dims, you find yourself yawning in the closeness of the room. Perhaps it is time for a change of material. Make a spot hidden roll if you succeed. Spot hidden. 25. Okay. If I make this, my luck is definitely shifted because those are both pretty low rolls to make. But let's be honest, I'm probably not going to make it. 25. Come on, baby. 41. You suck. Okay. So if you fail, 124. The door opens and Winters re-enters the library. He wears a small, satisfied smile. His gaze shifts to you where you stand at the shelves. Exhausted our stock already. Of course, we accept donations. He chuckles. I'm afraid it's closing time. You leave the building with Winters and wait as he locks up. You thank him for the coffee and the access to the library. He strolls away down Silbury Street. We're going to go to 180. As the light fades, you return to the Ledbetter house and eat a light supper. May is unusually taciturn. Ruth's eyes flick to yours several times during the meal. There's an urgency there you cannot quite interpret. Afterwards, May ushers the girl into their room. You have been in Emberhead for barely one whole day, and you already feel confined by it, both geographically and socially. The evening seems to offer little. To do some stargazing, 131. To attempt to speak to Ruth, 138. If you have a previous appointment, this is the time to follow it up. And I don't. So I'm going to do some stargazing. Because I had the incident with the guy outside, or the girl, whatever that thing was that was watching me that night. That was outside in the night. I had another incident with a guy where I tried to talk to him and he ran away. I feel like outside is my best chance to get the information. You stroll the streets of Emberhead. Already, it feels like you know every corner, every doorstep. There are simply not that many of them. When you emerge into an open space, the star field above you is arresting. The streetlights of your hometown always interfered with the view, even on a clear night. But here, in this lofty blackness, a multitude of tiny diamonds shimmer between the more familiar stars. The spectacle occupies you for a few minutes. Upon returning your gaze to Earth, you notice a dark figure pressed against a house. A loose stone skitters behind you. A second figure stares from an alleyway. To retreat to the safety of the Ledbetter house, go to 157. To confront the figures, 163. I'm going to confront the figures. I'm sick of these games. All right, here we go. You advance on one of the figures, calling out. It slips into the shadows. By the time you round the corner, it is nowhere to be seen. You turn to the other figure, feeling a simmering anger. As you approach, it also melts away. But behind you, in a dim yard, the first figure has reappeared. You could do this all night. The Watchers know the village far better than you do. Perhaps it is enough to have shown them you will not be cowed. Frustrated, you head back to the Ledbetter house. It's very clear I am being watched. As much as they act like everything's cool, they don't trust me. 157. The familiar surroundings of your guest room are becoming constrictive. The neat bed, small wardrobe, and dresser mirror have the feel of a prison cell about them. What are you still doing here in Emberhead? Your new life is elsewhere. You lie on the bed and stare at a small crack in the ceiling. You turn over the day's events, thinking through the little details you spotted. You are certainly weary from the elevation and the fresh air. Do you still feel safe here? If you let yourself fall asleep, go to 224. If you stay awake, 230. I'm staying awake. Sleep presses down on you. You blink it back and sit up, trying to think through your situation. Everything in Emberhead seems to be working to stop you leaving. Perhaps the answer is to strike out at first light, to walk as far and as fast as you can. You can always return for your possessions. And if you lose them, you have nothing so precious that it could not be replaced. A tiny creak draws your attention to the other side of the room. Slowly, almost silently, the doorknob is turning. To grab it and wrench the door open, 248. To pretend to be asleep, 254. I need to say this now. When I played this for myself, I never got to any of that. Things played out very, very differently. When the other two people played it that I helped them with, none of them got to this either. They all played out very differently. The whole coming back to the house here at that night never happened. So this, I have no clue what's going on. I'm going to pretend to be asleep. You slide onto the bed and lie on your side, eyes closed. The hinges creak as the door opens. There is a long pause. A footfall sounds inside the room, then another. The steps are careful and feminine. You give it a moment, then open one eye, a crack. May crouches with her back to you. She is fiddling with something in the fireplace. To confront May, go to 260. To wait and see what happens, go to 266. I want to wait and know what's going on. I'm going to wait a little longer. 266 it is. After another few moments, May glances round at you. Then you hear the soft scratch of a match being lit. She applies it to something in the grate and tiptoes from the room. Once you hear her bedroom door, you creep to the grate. A small mound of black powder, no bigger than a thimble, is burning there. It gives off heady fumes. The dream. I had that dream earlier, right? Where I want to say it was in episode 2, but where like fire is coming out of the grate, right? You may make a hard science botany roll. If you botany, okay, straight up. The only science I have here is just a 1 on science. Otherwise, you may extinguish the powder and sleep, go to 58, or stay awake through the night, 52, or you may relax and breathe the fumes out of curiosity. Okay, I'm not going to do 26. Okay. Okay, you know what? I'm going to try the roll. I need a 1 because my skill is literally a 1. So might as well give it a try. It won't work. 20. Best roll I've had all day, but no. All right. So I can extinguish the powder and sleep. I don't want to sleep. I'm going to stay awake through the night. 52. You stare out the window and watch as the sun reaches the horizon, bathing the village in sickly orange. It has been a long night and you feel stiff and irritable. You rub your eyes. A few minutes later, you hear May bustling in the kitchen. Then the front door opens and closes. Make a con roll. If you fail, your skill rolls today suffer a penalty. Roll the tens percentage die twice and take the higher result. This does not apply to luck, sanity, or damage rolls. Okay. So wait, and take the higher result. So I'm actually being penalized here. Okay. So I need to make a con roll. My constitution is a 50. So the left one is going to be the 10 space. You know what? Let me add one. All right. The top 2 are 10 spaces. The bottom one is the 1 space. I have to take the higher at the top. The bottom one stays the same. Here goes. Let's face it. These rolls have been like complete garbage. Here we are. 37. I made my roll. Oh my God, I made my roll. All right. I made my roll. Okay. Now go to say nothing changes as far as the actual result, but I did make my roll. Okay. So now go to 64. So I do not have penalties on my rolls. The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There's a note from May explaining that she has taken Ruth out for a few hours. If you were involved in a fight in the village last night and want to investigate the aftermath, go to 70. I was not. Otherwise, go to 78. 78 it is. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It is rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forth along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what their herd referred to as the beacon. You see two figures already up in its superstructure arranging the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive. But do you intend to stay and to see it? You suspect by now that something is amiss here. While the villagers are distracted, you may do something illicit, do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. I can search May Ledbetter's bedroom, go alone to the village hall, take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard, spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down to the East Road and flee for good. Okay. Going alone to the village hall. If the place is closed in the morning, I'm not going to probably be able to get in anyway. Take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard. Since none of them are actually there, at least most of them wouldn't be there. They're here working on this thing. Search May Ledbetter's bedroom. I'm going to search her bedroom. Maybe I'll find something useful. 83. Despite her hospitality, you do not trust May Ledbetter. You return to her house quite openly. Where else would you go? Inside, the dwelling is still empty. You rap on the bedroom door and wait. Silence. You ease it open. The Ledbetter bedroom is in marked contrast to your own. Neat, sparse. Dirty clothes are piled about the floor. On a rough quilt lie school books and cheap novels. You notice a raggedy old doll discarded down the side of the bed. Make a spot hidden roll that you'll most likely fail. If you succeed, go to 95. All right, spot hidden for me was 25. Yeah, it's the core 25 base number. Let's face it, my luck is a little bit better today, but it's probably still bad. Let's see. 25. Come on, no whammies, no whammies. 23. Yes. I succeeded. You notice scrapes on the floorboards corresponding to the legs of the bed. With effort, you slide the bed away. There's a rug spread beneath it, and beneath the rug, a trap door. You ease it open. The dark space beneath is some kind of cellar. I have no idea what's going to happen here, because every time, the other 3 times we went through this, none of this, we got to any of it. Or, I mean, like, our experience was very different. I also think that this episode's probably gone on a little bit. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. And we're going to go in for episode 4, which I think will bring us to the end of this first season. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Theater of My Mind. If so, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And I will see you on the next episode of Theater of My Mind. Peace.